with the thing. How you plug it
Well,
in? I don't even know how to plug it in. It's all confusing to me. I don't know what all these little parts mean. Okay.
we good. We got you. Thank you for joining me. I have a special guest with me. She is an author, speaker. Y'all ready? Radio host. Look, I ain't finished yet. TV personality and a Lifetime Achievement Award recipient awarded by the White House under the administration of President Barak Obama. Oh my
Thank you
goodness.
so much.
That's worth an applause. Please help me welcome my sister, my hometown sister, and my friend, Dr. Sabrina Jackson. Dr. Sabrina, welcome.
Hey, how you doing? How you
I'm
doing?
good. Yeah, I'm good.
Well,
Listen, you guys are
we have to do the official Detroit. What up, though?
What up, though?
What up, though? What up, though? I'm from Detroit for real. Okay.
For real, for real. Well, you guys are in for a treat. Dr. Sabrina is one who is well-informed, wise, expert at her craft, and but she also loves to have fun, and she's gonna keep it real. So for y'all that want some real conversation, get your ice packs, get your Novocaine, all your numbing creams, because she's gonna give it to us raw tonight. But I promise you, you're gonna leave empowered. You're gonna leave better than you were when you came. So Dr. Sabrina, I want to jump right in. We are in COVID. First of all, how have you been doing in this whole pandemic?
I've been like everybody else. I've been up and down. I've suffered a lot of loss. I personally suffered loss. My grandmother, who I lived with, whose house I'm in, died from COVID. So to lose her, and she was in a nursing home, so we had not been able to see her because they were quarantined. They weren't letting us visit. And then to just get a call that she's gone was devastating. And then from that, we couldn't have a funeral. We couldn't have people over. We couldn't do any of that. So it felt so, I felt guilty. I felt like I couldn't honor her the way that I felt like at 94, she deserved to be honored. Yeah. So it was devastating. It was devastating. So I cried a lot. I was by myself, but I'm human like the next person. So one of the things that I tell people is check on everybody. Check on the people that's the helpers as well, because those are the ones that suffer in silence, because they're so used to being the go-to that now who do you go to when you need somebody? And so I definitely sat in that seat. So one of the things that I did for me is that because I'm alone, I start thinking about the ways that we navigate the world, and we navigate the world through our five senses. So I specifically would do things within each of the five senses that I liked. So I would listen to music that I liked. That's somebody calling me, somebody trying to call. Listen to music that I liked. That helped me a lot. Then I would look at visually things that I like. So whether it was artwork, whether it was a movie, I would look at things that I liked. And then I made sure that I had aroma therapy in my house that uplifted, that calmed, that made me feel peaceful. So I would burn candles that had different scents. I did that on purpose. And then of course, with your taste buds, oh my goodness. Oh yes, I would order me a cake or something and have a cupcake or just something that was pleasing to my palate. And then lastly, and this was the tricky one, is touch. It's because touch, you're used to touching people. I couldn't hug nobody. I couldn't do any of that. I'm in the house by myself. And so I would do showers on purpose. I would, because I like them hot. So I would do that. And then I would do a body scrub, because the body scrub on top of the shower gave me a sensation. And then when I would watch movies, I would take my favorite blanket, throw it in the dryer, let it get nice and warm, and then wrap up in it when I watch my movie. When I say that thing right there,
put you to bed, honey.
So I had to intentionally do things on purpose that put me in a space that just brought me joy and comfort. And so that's important for all of us to do. This phone is going to keep ringing. It's just going to
trying to get you. They trying to get a hold of you.
don't know why right now.
You in demand.
Why?
But wow, I got to go back to that when you talk about your grandmother being in a nursing home. I'm just curious of how that experience was, because I'm always thinking about how the family that's outside at home, are they keeping in touch with you guys? Are they letting you know what's going on? I mean, how's that?
So it was very crazy because one, my uncle, which is my grandmother's son, was her guardian. So all the communication was to him. And then he would call me or call my brother or call somebody. And so it was that type of little always calling and checking in, but they did talk to him daily. And if they didn't call him, he was calling there because he was the one that you gonna have to deal with, me and my mama. So he was calling every day and then, kind of filling us in. But it was really just a shock. And then even when she passed, you can go to the place and sit with the body until they come in. We couldn't do any of that. We couldn't even we couldn't go inside the place. They shipped her stuff to us. And then we were able to, when the coroner, we had to send the funeral home to pick up the body. So we didn't get to see the body at all until the funeral home had prepared her.
Oh.
So yeah, that was a lot. It was a lot.
And you know how we are in the Black community about our dead loved ones. Because I know people today that they can have the spread, the flower. They don't care about nothing. I got to see them. Open that casket so I can look. It's just
my
something
grandmother,
closure.
It was, and it just depends on you as a person. I think that one of the things that I've heard a lot of ministers say at the beginning of this year is that 2020 was the year of clarity. It was the year of perfect vision. And then if you look at this year, January, we started with losing Kobe. That was a major thing. Then March was the pandemic. Then we went into the whole George Floyd thing and the police brutality and the race riot. So it has really been a devastating year. But if we really get to what we're talking about clarity and vision, God has uncovered some things that we needed to look at. So yeah, we need to have perfect vision, but we need to look at some things about ourselves, about how we treat each other, how we love ourselves, how we deal with death and loss. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes we get, families fight and they fall out and it's about the money, but now it's shifting. So we got to think about it differently. Yeah. And so I always look at anything that happens as the word tells me that all things are working together for my good, because I am called, I'm called to the purpose. Yes. I know I am. Yes, so man. I know that. And so I never stay stuck in a place where it's negative, because I know that God's going to use everything. It's the very things that we don't like that are the things that will propel us to where we want to be. It's the things that we have to go through that'll get us to. So it's the things that was our test that becomes our testimony. It was a mess, but now it's our message. So I'm eager and excited to see how God is going to walk this thing out through all of us, because we're going to have different stories, different realities, different everything when we get on the other side of this.
Yes, absolutely. You mentioned the second crisis this year, that of racism and social injustice, which was I guess came to it was already existing, of course, but it culminated with George Floyd. Tell me your thoughts on that incident.
Well, the first thing that people don't know is that George Floyd and that particular officer knew each other.
No.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They knew each other.
So that they had
a rant. Oh yeah.
They had encounters.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
They knew each other. So I think that it's even more of a murder than just he was randomly stopping him randomly. It wasn't nothing random about it. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you really look at the totality of the video, and I don't know how many people have seen the whole video, because the video goes beyond just him holding him, with his knee on his neck, but there was a point that somebody came over and took his pulse. And when they took his pulse, they said that he didn't have a pulse. But he never took his foot up off that knee.
No. See, I didn't see that portion.
Oh, I did.
So this was personal for real, not just because I'm a racist, but I'm a racist and I got obviously an issue with this brother. So it's definitely premeditated.
Yes. Oh, definitely premeditated. And then, you have people saying things like, why are people in such an uproar of a George Floyd when George Floyd had a criminal record, he had been to prison, the things of that nature. And so there's a lady out now, her name is Candace Owens, and she's a Republican, and she's, a conservative. And so she has a lot of things to say about how she feels that Black people take the lowest common denominator of our race and make that who we put on our t-shirts, who we, all of that. But I don't think it's necessarily it's not him per se, it's what that whole scenario represents for us. So we're not glorifying him, we are galvanizing our energy around what happened to him. So I think that it is definitely creating a place of change. I've had calls from, people in power and powerful positions who are Caucasian, who have asked me, how do I have the conversation with my staff? What do I do? Can you give me some suggestions? So I've created a do and don't list for having courageous conversations, because the first thing I talk about is how all of us in the conversation have to approach it with intellect, because aggression doesn't impress me. Aggression just shows me that you can do what animals do. Animals fight. Animals tear up stuff. But there's a reason why God gave us dominion over animals, because we have something that they don't have, and that's our intellect. So I'm always seeking an opportunity to show me you can think, and to show me you can think outside of your emotion. I understand emotion. Trust me, I get mad too, but I can't intellectually make a decision when I'm stuck in anger, when I'm stuck in rage. When you're raging, when you're angry, when you're hateful, you're not thinking logically. So we need to, I always say you can't expect logical behavior out of an irrational mind. So when your mind is all over the place, I know we tell parents this, don't whoop your children when you're angry, because you may go overboard. You may, you need to calm down first. That's the same thing about having these conversations and sitting at the table and having something intellectual to say. I know I have to step away from it for a minute, get myself together, have me a checkoff or a to-do list, and have my facts correct. The other thing that we do is that we don't know what we're talking about. If I did a quiz, how many people know the date of when the first slave ship landed here? 1619. 1619 was the date of the first ship to come here, which means that there were ships that went other places before then. We ain't the only places that had slavery. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing, 1790. In 1790, a man that we love because he's on our money, Ben Franklin, was the first to petition Congress to abolish slavery. 1790.
Wow.
Long before 1863.
Wow. Who
People
knew?
don't even know that. We don't even know that. And then what happened to him, when he did that, Congress laughed at him. They laughed at him to the point that they created in 1790 the Naturalization Act of 1790. And that act said only white people could be citizens.
Wow.
Because what they wanted to do is to prove to him, not only are we not going to abolish slavery, Now we're going to pass an act that says only white people can be citizens here.
Wow.
So we need to have our facts. We need to, they always say, if you want to hide something from a Black person,
yeah,
put it in a book.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this. Now we are very technology savvy. We can play things on our phones. We can place bets on our phones. We can do whatever. We can date on our phones. Listen to some information on your phone. Get a book and listen to it if you don't want to read it. Just listen to it so that you have the facts. So when you have the facts, you bring another level of information to the playing field. I understand the Willie Lynch letter. I've read it and I read it often because it's such powerful information about, one, how we as Black folks treat each other. And the way we treat each other was created in that letter. And that letter was in 1712.
Wow.
Willie Lynch was a person. He was a man. He was of British descent. He had slaves in West Indies, and he was being very successful with how he controlled his slaves. So the slave owners over here said, let's send for him and have him teach us how to make a slave.
Wow.
And he said, because the letter really isn't a letter. The letter is just a transcript of his talk because he came and presented. So it was like a conference for the slave owners.
A conference.
The conference of the slave owners. We need to learn how to keep these people in check. We losing money. So he said, if you do these three things, that you will keep them in a slave mentality for hundreds, if not thousands of years. The first thing is fear. Make sure they're scared of us. We still got that going on. We still got to have a conversation with our children about how to drive while Black. That's still, fear is a real thing. When you see a Black man being killed that didn't do nothing, that didn't resist, yeah, that's scary. So then as a mother, I'm going to tell my son, make sure, because I want, at all costs, I want my son to come home.
That's right.
So fear is the first thing.
Speaking of that fear, what? Because you are the mother of a Black male. What conversations have you had, and are you still having with him as it relates to police brutality? I mean, because I know.
My God, I wrote about it.
Oh, tell us.
I wrote a book. I wrote a book called "He's Not a Statistic: 12 Laws for Single Mothers Raising Black Males." And law number 4 is to teach him what it means to be a Black man in this society. So in the book, I talk about when I first bought him his first car. We were living in West Bloomfield. I told him, "You're gonna be stopped this first week. You're gonna be stopped." And I told him, "You're not just driving while Black, you're driving while dark-skinned Black." And I hate to say it, but there is still a difference. Colorism is a real thing. The light-skinned brother might get off. You ain't. So yes, I had those discovered. And then I told a couple of things I told him. One, always have your license, registration, and insurance in a place where you can quickly reach it. So like in your visor, not something that you got to reach to the glove compartment, that you got to go in the middle of the car, that you got to look in the back, because any one of those things could cause you to lose your life. First thing. Second thing, always turn your music off, approach and respond to them. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Have your hands always where they can see them. You're not making sudden movements. But the last thing I told them, as soon as you see the sirens, as soon as you see the lights and you're pulling over, take your phone, call me, put me on speaker, and sit me in the seat. And a lot of people thought that I said that so that I could hear what the police was doing. So if I needed to get, yeah, that was. But more importantly, I wanted him to feel that he wasn't by himself. Because what I know is that when you're afraid and you're by yourself, you may do things that you wouldn't necessarily do. Fear causes you to do that. But to know, oh, my mom on the phone, oh, she listening. I'm not by myself.
That's so good. That's so good. As a mom, because we have I've been talking to some moms, and there are some moms who have little boys, not even teenage, and they're fearful now of what could happen.
Absolutely.
How can we help these mothers, because it's almost inevitable. They're afraid to even let them go, and that could be an issue.
That's paralyzing. That's paralyzing. One of the things that I wrote, in my book, my son wrote the foreword to my book. And in the foreword, he says, "Today, my mother is my everything. But soon, she will hand me off into marriage, and she will no longer be my everything." And so she had to teach me what I needed to do to even be prepared to go off and have my own family and to be a man in the world. And so I tell mothers all the time, our role is that we are the doorway to the universe for our children. They don't get here but through us. But they get here through us. They don't get here to stay with us. They have to get on their own path and live their own life. And so I've had people read the book and come to me crying and say that I don't ever want to not be my son's everything. And so this is one of those moments where you need to pull up and be ready for this, because I'm going to let you know, shame on you. Shame on you, because he has a path. He has a life, and he can't live his life if he has to run around and please and appease you. You're not preparing him to be anybody's husband, because as a woman, I don't want a mama's boy. I don't want a man who can't make a decision on his own. He got to call his mama. And even because me and my son are close, we're super close. But what I tell him, and I tell parents, and I say this in the book, that you have to learn how to move from being the supervisor in their life to being the supporter. And being the supporter means I ain't telling you what to do. You got to make that decision on your own. I can listen. And what I do is I listen, then I ask good questions. I never give my opinion, because it's not my life. Like, he's dating, and he's dating different people, and he's making his decision. And he might say, well, Mom, what do you think? I never tell him what I think, because I don't have to stay with him. I don't have to live with them. I don't have to hear their heart. I don't have to do any of that. It's not my responsibility. So anybody that he chooses, if he's happy, I'm going to be an amazing mother-in-law. Amazing. Because I'm going to support him. I'm not trying to supervise him. I'm supporting him. And so I think a lot of women, because this was the second thing in the Willie Lynch letter. That's interesting that we're even having this conversation, because the second thing he said, if we get them to distrust each other, then we start with, they distrust each other as far as the man and the woman. And so if the man is pulled away from the household, he can't be a father, stuff we're still dealing with today, then the woman becomes the independent, strong entity. So she's responsible of raising the children alone, and she's going to be fearful of what happens to her son, which we still are about our sons in this whole racial climate. So then we coddle him, but then we raise our daughters to be like us. So you still have all these independent, strong women and these weak men.
Wow. And it seems as if the society today has embraced and empowered the independent, strong women, while still stomping on the men who are still trying to
and as women, we almost support the major culture in we keep our man down. So when a man is struggling, when he's sensitive, if his feelings are hurt, he can't come home and cry to his woman, because a woman be like, oh, crying? I don't want no weak man. You're supposed to be a man. The thing that a woman is supposed to do for her man, because you think about where God took and put Adam to sleep and took his rib and made woman. A rib does what? Protect the heart. Your woman is designed to protect your heart. So you should be able to show your heart to your woman.
My.
You're supposed to be able to show. You're supposed to be. Where else can you be vulnerable? Where else can you be? I'm tired. Where else can you be? Oh, they don't want me out today, baby. Where? I remember there was this discussion about how, I can't remember what movie it was in, but maybe it was in Good Times, something about how as Black families, we always save the big piece of chicken for the daddy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And we serve him, women in our culture, our men, when we're out to dinner or something, we make his plate. So like for if we're over our family's house for Thanksgiving, the women get up and make the man's plate. And so you have these independent women say, I don't want, he got hands, he could make his own plate. And I had an older woman explain to me that in the South and during slavery time, the only way to honor her man was by serving him his food. That was a place of honor.
Yeah, because every
honor my man.
She was stripped from it in every other aspect. So the only way she could was to prepare him a hot meal and present it. Oh.
So we're so
and here we are
up and don't know.
And here we are. Look, I'm saying, and here we are. We don't even know that, and we look. I can get it myself. I got it. Shame on us. Shame on all the men. I'm one of them. I got it. You ain't got. Don't worry about it. Because I mean, I like a little more mashed potatoes than you give me. But shame on me. Wow.
But we don't know. We don't know. We don't know, and because we don't know, and the other thing, because Jackie Clark of the Clark sisters is one of my best friends and my sister, and so her and I have been talking about how as seasoned women, Titus women are supposed to teach younger women. So we're planning on doing some podcasts that we call it Ask the Aunties. And that women could just ask us anything. And we're going to be open and honest and for real, because too often we haven't passed down this information and the young people are suffering because we don't know. Mm-hmm. We don't know that we don't know, and we jacking it up from the flow up.
Mm-hmm. Deal with this, because since we're on the subject of man and wife or man and woman, mm-hmm. Deal with that whole economic piece, because many of the women now are the
bosses. They're bosses
and beautiful. On behalf of the men, we love it, but sometimes that can get in the way of relationship.
Okay, so let me say this. The thing that is important to know is that women are designed to be loved. Men are designed to be respected. Men require respect. Women require love, but we get it twisted when we put money in it, because we say this in our heads. We might not ever say it out loud, but I pay the cost to be the boss. You ain't designed to be the boss. Mm. You're supposed to have a head. The husband or the male is designed to lead. He's designed to create the mission for the family. So I tell women this, because we talk about this whole subservient thing. We talk about how the vows say to submit to your husband. Submission does not mean servitude. Submission does not mean slavery, because when I submit, I choose to submit. Slaves didn't choose to be slaves, but I choose to submit. And if you break down the word, it means sub means to get up under, like a submarine goes up under his mission. You're supposed to get up under and support his mission. That's what submission means. And so if your man don't have a mission, he ain't your man. What you got to get up under but him?
I ain't playing with you today. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. And in return, what happens? Go ahead.
I've had to check myself because I am independent. I'm single. I make decent money. I can go wherever I want to go, whenever I want to go. But when I have a spiritual mother, her name's Mother Judy Hines. Mother got me so good. We at the beginning of the year we do a 10-day consecration and fast, and she's so prophetic because she get to speak it into us. And one year she said, "Ooh, Dr. Sabrina, my daughter Sabrina, she's so smart. She's just so smart." She says, but she said, "You know, you're controlling." And I said, "Oh," I was clutching my pearls. "Oh no, I am not controlling." Because she said, "Why do you say you're not controlling?" I actually started laughing. And she said, "Well, what's so funny?" I says, "Because I can't be controlling." And she says, "Why do you say that?" I says, "Because I'm nice." And she said, "Do you realize that being nice and being controlling are two different things?" She said, she went on to say that you are actually worse than the mean controlling person. Because at that time, I thought all controlling people were mean people. And I'm not mean, so I couldn't be controlling. And she says, "No, you so good that folk don't see you coming."
Wow.
You don't. That's why you marry. I've been married twice, divorced twice. I got 2 husbands. There was my husband. She said, that's why you married 2 men who weren't your equal. Because you didn't even want him to be able to say nothing to you at all.
Wow.
That was an ouchie, and I had to go lay down.
Wow.
But what I learned is she was right. And so I had to check myself about being controlling. I had to check myself about knowing when to shut up. And so one of the things that I did on purpose was went and took ballroom classes, because ballroom classes require the woman to follow.
Yes, yes, yes. Wow.
And I had a difficult time. I remember my instructor, I was supposed to just sit my hand, like right here. He was supposed to find my hand. I would never sit my hand. I was always trying to find his hand. And finally, he grabbed my hand and said, "Sabrina, I find you, you don't find me."
Come on, come on.
I felt so beat up on, but it's the truth. So I always say to couples, because I do couple counseling, couple, coaching with couples, I ask the question to the woman, what have you done or what do you do to make him feel respected? And then I ask him, what have you done or what do you do to make her feel loved? Because what happens is couples get on this roller coaster ride where she do something that's disrespectful, then he'll turn around and do something unloving, then she'll turn back around and do something, and they just get on and they can't get off. So how you get off is that you stop and really check yourself, because you never change anybody else, you only change yourself.
That's right. Wow. Whew, so good. Now, since we're on the subject of family, let's talk about our domestic situation with Black homes. You mentioned about the Willie Lynch and women having to raise families on their own. That's been an issue in our community for years. But many have come out of that and propelled into greatness, But a lot of us are broken still because daddy wasn't there, or mama was there, but she wasn't attentive. Or they both was there, but they didn't get along. You know what I mean? How can those who may be involved in these situations, how can they come out of these broken homes and not be bitter?
Well, the first thing is that with couples, I always say that couples are always under a spiritual attack, because the enemy knows if I can disrupt a couple, I can disrupt a household, a neighborhood, a community, a school, a workplace. The whole criteria of what builds our life is family. And it starts with the nuclear of the two. So when they don't get along and the kids see it, the number one way to teach a behavioral or a social skill is by modeling it. So kids do what you do, not what you say. So when they see you being disrespectful to their daddy, they be disrespectful to their daddy. If they see you talking down to their mama, they talk down to their mama. They do what you do. So we have to, first of all, heal within our relationships so that even if I'm not with you, I still have to respect you. Even if you're not paying child support, I still can't let you not see your child. I have to be the mature one. And oftentimes people get broken and their maturity is stunted because they haven't forgiven. Forgiveness is necessary. And once you forgive and once you become mature, you stop trying to regulate somebody else's household.
Yeah. Yeah.
I ain't letting you regulate mine, but I can't regulate yours either. So as long as my child is safe there, yeah, you might not feed them what I feed them. Yeah, you might not listen to the same music I listen to. But really, is that more important than them developing the connection with their parent?
Yeah. Speak to that, because I have witnessed and seen where, particularly on the mother's side, where they have used the child as a confidant when it comes to the marital or the issues between them and their father, because maybe they think they're old enough to handle it, or they just need to know, or whatever the case may be. Talk about that and why that is so damaging for you to share your marital issues with your children, whether it's to knock the dad or not, just being too open with them about those personal issues.
The first thing I tell women all the time is that you need to make sure that you have a personal life outside of being a parent. Because when you don't have a personal life outside of being a parent, that connection with your child becomes enmeshed. And enmeshed means that you don't have boundaries anymore. So you do everything with your child. You live through your child. You talk to your child. And it becomes unnatural and not normal. You're supposed to have adult conversations with other adults, and certain things your children should never know. I am an adult, and my mother didn't tell me everything about her and my daddy, because that was her husband, and that still was my daddy. Even though I was in my 40s and they will make me having a problem, my mother never spoke to it because it was not my business. That's the thing. It's not my business. And then you get to people taking sides and, oh, well, you did this, and I heard you did this to my mama, and I heard you. All out of order, because at the end of the day, the DNA that made that child is between you and that person. And the child that had nothing to do with it. So don't you pull them into it. Let them have their own relationship with their other parent. So one of the laws in my books is never badmouth the absent parent. Never. And yeah, I had some things I could have said, and I did say them to other people. Never said them to my son. My son never felt like I couldn't stand his daddy or that he couldn't go with his daddy. One, because every time I looked up, I saw his daddy because he looked just like him.
Couldn't escape him. You couldn't run from him.
I couldn't run from him, because when I say that little boy looked just, that little man now looked just like his daddy and got his mannerism, I used to go, how did this even happen? He wasn't even around him that much. He tell a story like his daddy. His mannerisms are like his daddy. He smiles like his daddy. He dances just like his daddy. Oh my God. I'll be like, poor baby, he dancing like that man. But I did not do that. And so that was a decision that I had to come to. I had to heal. I had to forgive the father about how we broke up. And my son was grown before he even knew why we broke up or what happened. Because I never said anything.
Wow.
I never said this is what happened. And I think that finally he came to me and said, no, really, what happened with you and my dad? What happened? And I shared it. And then, because he's 27 now. And he has his own relationship with his dad, which I wanted. And so I asked my son once, because he hasn't been super close to his dad, but I asked him, I said, if your dad was ill, what would you do? He said, I would go take care of him. I said, well, I've done my job. I've done my job, because I never would want him to say, I don't care what happened to him, because he has to honor his mother and his father so that his days will be long. We teach our children to dishonor their parent because we feel that their behavior validates them being dishonored. But that's not what the words say. And this is for Christian folk. Other folk, but Christians, We can't say we believe and we walking out the word and we take it and twist it and do the way we want to do it. Well, I ain't gonna do that right there. I ain't gonna. He trifling. Wow. The word don't say if he trifling, then you don't have to honor. That ain't what it say.
That's right. That's right.
You gotta honor. Right. And so oftentimes we don't teach our children how to honor. That's why they get out in the street and they don't value authority. Because we haven't modeled it. We talk to people any kind of way. I used to work at a school, and I remember whenever the kids who had the biggest problems, parents came in, you would go, oh, okay, now I understand.
Yeah.
Because they come from that home. They come from the parent coming up there cussing out the other kid or cussing out the parent.
Talk about that other side of that though. Where women stay with the man because I don't want him not to have, or I don't want her not to have her daddy because I grew up like that. So they stay intentionally in an abusive, whether it's physical, emotional, whatever, a relationship, because they don't want their child to be without.
Right. Well, this is the thing. Sometimes the healing that needs to occur can only occur when y'all not together. Because y'all wasn't supposed to be together. And so, I tell women this all the time. Women are cunning. They just are. We're smart. So we'll look at a man and we done decided within ourselves, oh, he gonna be my man. So we'll do things to get his attention, to make him think it's his decision. And it never was. So the scripture says, a man that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. He ain't found you. So he can't find no favor.
Wow.
So now you have this situation that you're miserable. God says in his word, he wants you to prosper and be in good health as your soul prospers. He wants that above all things. So you can't stay in a place where you're miserable and prosper. You just can't. And your children will see evidence of you being miserable. They may then become to have a low self-esteem. But sometimes the thing that is the thing to heal is when you're apart so that he can find who he's supposed to be with and you can find who you're supposed to be with. And now y'all have these blended families and everybody happy and everybody, I've seen it. But as long as we're stuck in trying to control the situation, let me tell you something. Love releases, hate holds. So a hate will hold on to something, but love will let it go.
Wow. Woo. So good. I'm enjoying myself. I don't know if y'all are, but I'm enjoying myself. But let's since we're on the subject of relationships, let's shift to the man. We just had Father's Day. It's no secret that Black men in America have been traumatized for years. Let's speak to the Black man specifically. We're constantly beaten up. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some Black men who are thriving, doing well, but they're still experiencing it. Even if they are at the upper echelons of life, they still getting it from a different level. How can we manage filtering through society, keep our dignity, and not, beat up on each other out of spite of what is being done to us?
I tell it's so funny that I keep going back to the book, but one of the laws in the book is I teach women to teach their boys, their young men, 3 things. You need to infuse the concepts of coachability, compassion, and confidence. Black men need all 3. You need to be coachable because you need to be at a place that somebody can pull your coattail and say, don't do it that way, bro. Don't do it that way. Don't hit your woman. Don't call her a B. So you got to be open to feedback, because if you're not, how do you get better if can't nobody tell you nothing? You don't know everything. None of us knows everything. We have to be open to being coached. So that's the first thing. The second thing is compassion. We have to have a humanity within ourselves, that we love ourselves enough that we can tap into the compassion within us to other people. And when we have that humanity space, then we can get with the woman and respect her and love on her and love our children and love our community and help the old lady across the street and Those things that just make us human. And then confidence. Oh, baby. Confidence is critical because the world is always going to be trying to beat up on you. Confidence does not make you cocky. Confidence does not make you arrogant. And the majority society will try to say that to you when you come to the interview and you're well dressed and you're well spoken and you're degreed and you're traveled and you're well read. They'll say, they cocky. Don't let them. Don't even give it a thought, because there is a difference between being cocky and confident. And you have a right as a grown ass man.
That's it.
To be confident. You have a right to your opinion. You have a right to your voice. I used to teach my son, you have a right to say no. You have a right to say yes at your leisure. You have a right to your opinion. You have a right, but you got to have a right way of how you do it. You can't cuss folk out. You can't beat folk up. You have to learn how to communicate effectively. And so I think that men need to have other men that they have as mentors, that they have as uncles and big brothers, that they can get with among yourselves and just shed it all and listen to what other men are experiencing and how they've navigated it. Because the one thing I can never tell you is how to be a man, because I ain't never been one. So even though I wrote the book to single mothers, one of the things I talk about is to always have male support system for your young man. So I was very fortunate. I had amazing men around my son who really poured into him. And I have my one cousin, I call him just my big black male cousin. That when Marcel got out of line, I would call him, he would leave his job, come to my house, whoop his tail, and go back to work.
Wow.
And I love
That's community. That's community.
Yes, I needed it because I had gotten, I couldn't do it. But I had people who did. And I know people say, violence begets violence. That whole statement of violence begetting violence does not equate to the relationship between a parent and a child when it comes to discipline. That don't mean the same thing. Because my son never thought he could do what I did to him to his peers. He never thought he could get a belt and whoop his peers. He knew that it was a thing between me as the parent and him as the child. The second thing, he never saw me do what I did to him to my peer. He never saw me being violent to other, doing whooping somebody or hitting somebody. It was strictly a discipline technique that I believe works. Yeah.
You mentioned violence begetting violence, and I got to bring up the fact that many in our community sometimes justify the police brutality by saying, well, we killing each other. We showing them how to treat us because we don't value one another.
First of all,
speak to that.
That goes back again to the Willie Lynch letter. The Willie Lynch letter said, if we get them to distrust each other and hate on each other, they get so caught up in what they do to each other that we can do whatever we want to do to them. So it was designed that way. And so when you say stuff like that, that lets me know that you're not well read. Because if you knew your history, you would know that policing in the first place was created to keep you from running away. That's the police force in its inception was created for that.
Not to protect and serve like they've been telling you. Okay.
So this is the thing. I did some research. Where's my pad of paper? Because I'm really irritated about how we talk about, well, we're doing this to each other. But it's amazing to me how police can kill a person who is not resisting. But then you look at these white men who have been mass murderers and shot up towns and people, and one of three things happens to them. One, they'll shoot up a bunch of people and then they'll kill themselves. Second, They'll shoot up a bunch of people, and then they'll have a shootout with the police. They'll start shooting at the police. Then the police shoots them, they'll die. The third thing is that they are apprehended and taken into custody with no incident. The gentleman who went into that church in South Carolina and killed those people, they apprehended him and took him to Burger King before they even took him to jail.
They got him a meal. They fed him. Ain't that nothing?
They took him to Burger King.
I can't.
So why is it that you can apprehend and take with no incident the white man who just shot up the place and killed 9 people, but the person who's selling loose cigarettes, you kill him? I don't even know what George. Why was they even bothering with George for? What was the
something about some counterfeit money?
Some counterfeit money, forgery or something of a check. What
and that ain't new. And if who we learned that from?
That's what I was gonna say. It's interesting how I hear people say, "Well, you all are supporting and highlighting the criminals of the world." Well, the people who signed the Constitution were criminals.
Say it.
We have learned aggression and violence from this society. That's how they do what they do, is through aggression. They bullies. They go across the pond and go to other countries and walk up in. I don't like how you treating your people, so now we gonna take over. Who does that?
Colonizer.
We're just gonna do whatever we want to do. And I have this list. It's a list that talks about racial. It's like a timeline of racial issues and immigration issues. And oh my God, they had a treaty with the Mexicans or the Chinese, and they just decided, oh, we're not gonna do that, and then they just start killing them.
Just bullies, just for no reason.
So it's like we're not even designed to be violent. We're really not. We're really not designed to be violent. We were taught violence. So then because we good at when we learn something, or we perfect the thing once we learn it. Oh my God.
Come on.
You know, once we learn it, we got it, and we gonna do it till we do. I mean, yeah, okay. So, but this is the other thing about the whole black on black crime thing. There's really no such thing as black on black crime, because people hurt people in the communities that they live in. So we never hear the term white on white crime, but the most white people that kill people kill other white people.
Wow.
Mexicans kill other Mexicans. So if you go into a community, the violence that's committed is committed in that community among each other. But why all of a sudden do we have books and research and terminology, specifically the black on black crime? No. If you're gonna do crime, you do crime where you at.
So that's a psychological play that the media uses to create this image. Wow.
Of course. It's definitely an image. Oh yes, we are. You know, I was watching last night. Oprah had on her station Dark Girls Part 2. So Dark Girls is a whole documentary about being a dark-skinned woman in our society. And so, you know, they talked about during slavery time and how darker skinned women were treated much different than lighter hued women. Lighter hued women were allowed to work in the house and do that type of work. Black women, dark-skinned women had to work in the field. They had to work like the dudes worked. So there's always been this separation around the light skin, dark skin thing. And we haven't really learned, and we really haven't just within our own communities. You know, I know women who are dark and says, I want a light man, because if I have a baby with a light man, then maybe my baby won't be dark. Because being dark has been a trauma to them. And they don't want their child to have that trauma. And so we have to get to the place that we heal and we okay with the skin we in. Because I didn't like being dark skinned when I was little. Dark skin wasn't in.
Wow.
I hated it. I hated it. I used to put a towel over my head and have it hanging down like it was long hair. And I did not like my skin color until I went to high school, which I went to the greatest high school on the planet. I went to Cass Tech, of course.
What was that defining moment that made you say, I'm good?
The defining moment was I was a ninth grader, and there was a senior named Stan. He was a football player, and Stan was in the package that I liked. Oh my goodness. But I never thought he would ever say anything to me because, one, I was a ninth grader and he was a senior, and two, because I was dark skinned. I really didn't think that somebody would be flirting with me, even though I always had men flirt with me, but that's a whole nother talk show. But I didn't think he would because I was dark. And one day I'm sitting in the standing by my locker, and he walks up to me, looks down because he's all tall, and he said, "Hey, dark and lovely." What? That became my mantra. Oh my God, I had dark and lovely wrote on my hats. I had it on t-shirts. I had it going down the side of my jeans. I just began to embrace the whole thing about being dark and lovely. And so now I tell men, you can't handle all this chocolate. I will put you in a diabetic coma. What?
You're so crazy. But that you spoke to something I think that is so powerful, because what that is that shows you how necessary the men are to the validation of our women and children.
Yes.
So you changed your whole paradigm as it pertains to who you were.
Yes, whole paradigm. And it's interesting because I will say this, my father, God rest his soul, my father was a great provider. My father was very learned. I mean, he would read all the time. And so he was always making us value education. So he taught me a lot, but he never really complimented me on how I looked. So I was always walking around like, well, am I pretty? Am I pretty? And so until when my father was on his deathbed, he was in hospice. And at night, because I'm a nighttime girl, I'm always up late at night. I was up and I would take the night shift on caring for him. So I was up and I would stay up and watch him. And if he went to sleep, then I would fall off to sleep. And so one night I was sleeping, but I had my head turned to him. And when I opened my eyes, he was crying. And it startled me. I'm like, are you in pain? He was like, no. I said, well, what's wrong? He says, nothing. You're just beautiful. I said, in my freaking 40s. But I'm so grateful for that moment.
Wow.
So men need to, and let me say this. There is an appropriate thing to do and an inappropriate thing to do. You shouldn't be dating your daughter. Where they get that from? You don't date your daughter. You date your wife, and then your daughter sees how you treat your wife. You don't date your daughter. You might take her out to dinner. You might hang out with her, but you don't call it dating your daughter. Ain't nothing about that appropriate. I didn't date my daddy.
They say that's your first example of a man, and I guess that's the thought,
the
process
mindset.
That.
Yeah, but way that what that means is, remember, I said modeling is how you teach a thing. They need to see you how you treat your wife, see you bringing flowers home to her, seeing you. I remember my son said to me, because I did get married after his dad, and we were always to laugh and giggle and play. And one day he said, I want a marriage like yours because y'all laugh all the time and y'all act like y'all like each other. That meant so much to me. That he had that as an example, that he knew what, if I like you, then this is the way I act when I like you. There's nothing wrong with holding hands or walking past me and hitting me on my behind. He was my husband.
Wow.
So we need to have those examples in the home. And so I know women who get divorced and then they'll say that they'll never date until their children get grown. I say shame on that. Because dating is a model. You can model how to date. Now, when I say dating means that he picks you up, y'all go out, he drops you off, he go home. You don't date somebody and everybody you date, they come move in, they live in, they spend the night. No!
Look, he ain't up making breakfast, bare bone. Look.
Yeah, thank you.
Baby boy, you
like your baby boy.
You hungry?
You hungry? I got
Oh,
some
my.
bacon. I just fried up some bacon. What? So yeah, you do have to have a standard, but having a standard means that you can then teach that to my son is going to be an incredible father and husband. He is. One, because he's very intentional about what he does. So he used to tell me, he said, I don't have problems with women because I don't lie to them.
Mm.
So I don't lie to them to get them to do something. I don't lie to them. If you're not my woman, I don't tell you you are. Mm. If I ain't trying to be your man, I don't tell you I am. And if I'm in pursuit of you, I tell you I am. Mm-hmm. So when the woman he went now, he told her, he said, I'm not dating you just to date you. I'm in pursuit of you. I was like, boy, I need to write that down. I need somebody to tell me they're in pursuit of me.
Wow. You mentioned something earlier that I want to go back to. You mentioned about us being able to have the conversation or express ourselves in anger. We've got to deal with this whole, I guess, backlash to the Black Lives Matter and all that, because a lot of the bona fide racists are showing their hind parts. I saw a couple of clips of different young Black people who literally attacked some of these people who had racial slurs and said all kinds of things that were derogatory to them, and they commenced to wearing them out. In this community, this generation, many of them don't know how to manage this climate. You know, I think our fathers, grandfathers, and parents, they knew how to, some of them, knew how to manage it differently. How can we teach this generation so that they don't just attack when they are, I guess, angry, spoken to inappropriately, or
right,
they experience racism? How can they deal with it without setting us back?
One of the things that I talk about all the time is how the only way that we're really going to heal is if we have teachable moments. And so sometimes when people say something derogatory, I used to tell my son, show me you can think. That goes back to that intellect. And so you have to be able to flip it and use your intellect and not necessarily your fisticuffs. So I give the example, I have a couple of them, but one of the examples that I use is, since I'm on Fox 2 all the time, people write and tell me all kind of craziness. People say all kind of positive and negative things. So I had one person write in and say to me, what is that on your head? It looks like a used mop. And I says, oh. So now I could have fired back. Well, how dare you say that to me? I use it as a teachable moment. I said, thank you so very much for the question. It is actually called sister locks. And my hair grows out of the follicle in a tight curl. And that tight curl in the African American community is called being nappy. And in parentheses, I put, and I'm so happy to be nappy. However, I do recognize that it is not cute to some people. Some people may not like it. It may just be downright grotesque. However, again, I thank you for the question. So I'm able to teach in the moment. I'm able to show that I still have a strong connection with who I am, and what you say about me ain't gonna make me not like me. That has so much more power than if I kill you. Because you can't change what's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. So then you haven't even remedied the problem. The problem still exists. You just I got you. Wow. So use it as teachable moments. I love it. We got to deal with this, and I want to let me first deal with this, the race card, because I think in our community we pull it out so much. We have that older white woman that live across the street, and she always saying something to your kids, and you want to say to everybody that come over, oh, that old lady, she don't like Black people. No, it's not that she don't like Black people. Your kids be playing on her lawn. She don't want your kids on her lawn.
Thank you.
But we're so quick to pull out the race card when it comes to Caucasian. So sometimes I think we need to speak to that to our community.
Well, the thing I say all the time is that we have to learn, one, how not to be so offended. I can't get offended by everything somebody say to me that don't look like me. And sometimes it's just out of their ignorance that they're saying what they say. And so I can't help it that they're ignorant. And if they're ignorant, again, it allows me to have a teachable moment. So that's the first thing, is that I can't be so offended. But the second thing, we can't always be offensive. We can't always yell and you don't like me and you did this to me and because you got privilege and because to be real honest, there's some Black people that have privilege and they treat other Black people bold. Privilege ain't just a white thing. Privilege is a thing.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So we have to get to the point that we see people on their individual merit. Because I'll be real honest, some of the greatest opportunities I've ever had have come for people who do not look like me.
Wow. Wow.
Now, I do believe that I'm supposed to support my people. I do believe that I should support my own businesses. I do believe that if I can, even if I have to sacrifice and pay more, I should support my people because other communities do. Mm-hmm. And it don't mean that I'm hating on you if I'm loving on mine.
That's right.
I'm just loving on mine. And so a lot of us will never get that opportunity to do better or to have their business exposed to greater things because we talk about each other. We don't help each other. Recently, I don't know if you have ever been to La Culture. Mm-hmm. And the guy from La Culture said some things, and the people was mad at him because he said the thing about people weren't coming back to work because they were going to stay off and take the unemployment because they was going to be making more unemployment right now with that little $600 bonus. And he went off and he says, well, if you do that, you're always going to have a slave mentality. You're going to always be wanting to get aid or, stay on aid and stuff like that. It was bold what he said. He customized. And so I was talking to a friend of mine and he said he is really trying to build a business and he needs help. So that means that people like us have to go to him and talk to him and coach him. Mm-hmm. You cannot get better unless somebody teaches you and then gives you the opportunity to show that you've learned. We so quick to cancel people and throw them under the bus and we ain't never going back there again. And is that what Christ did for us? The very thing we need to be.
Yeah.
And I know I don't get it right all the time. I know I have missed the mark in business. I know that I've had to return some people's money. I know. So we have to be able to help each other and go to people, but that goes back to that being coachable. I can't come to you to try to help you, and then you want to cuss me out because I'm coming. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm trying to help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we've decided that we're going to get a group of us. We're going to go to this new record. It's got a new spot, a new location. It's bigger. So we're going to go and support them and give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because all of us need a second chance. And this thing about not supporting our own businesses has got to stop. Because we'll say things like, well, their customer service was bold, or their food quality wasn't good, or I went to a Black dentist and my crown fell out. Go back and let them fix it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes the reason that the crown fell out is because the Black person didn't get the quality materials because they don't have the money because we don't come to them. Yeah,
that's so true. So true. Well, you dealt with something, and you said dealing with people on their own merit. You just mentioned that, and I got to bring this scenario to the conversation because I have a few good white friends, and one guy in particular is like a brother. And he called me just on the heels of the George Floyd thing, and he preempted the conversation by saying, "Hey, I want to talk to you about something, and I know you're going to be honest with me. And whatever you say," he said, I'm not going to get offended. I just want to know what you think. And he said another Black friend of his called him and got upset with him because on the heels of all the George Floyd thing, he said he was quiet. Mm-hmm. He said, you have all these Black friends that you're and all these Black people that you're close to, and you're not saying anything. And he said, in response, he felt guilty. So he put something together and put it up. And then he gets a call back, and I guess they were talking about something else, and he still wasn't satisfied. because he felt like it wasn't real to what he was, you did it only because I had to tell you to do it. So he got upset with his white friend because he didn't speak on behalf of Black people, and he has all these Black friends. Deal with that for a minute. Is that even fair to do to our white friends in this community, in this climate?
It's absolutely not fair to do. And let me tell you why. Because some people, and that's why I say you have to judge things on their individual merit. So you have to consider the source. So this person that was all upset he's an unsatisfiable entity. Nothing was going to satisfy him. And so you can't continue to try and satisfy something that's unsatisfiable. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the fact that he called them and had to say something, the fact that he responded the way he did, he still wasn't going to be satisfied. So I always consider the source. I think about who's asking. I look at how they handle other situations, because what I learned is if they unsatisfied over there, they're going to be unsatisfied over here. When they're telling you about something and somebody then came to them and they rectified it and they still tripping, don't seek to be a people pleaser, because you're never going to please 100% of the people 100% of the time. And people who really love you and people who really know you and people who really value you, they'll come to you just for a conversation. I don't necessarily have to post all my opinions. One, because it ain't everybody's business. Second, I know that people follow me and listen to me, so I am very careful about what I put out and when I put it out and what I say. I'm very careful about that. And then sometimes I know that I'm still jacked up. So it ain't gonna leave me right nowhere. It's not coming out right. I'm gonna cuss, and I'm a preacher, and I don't want to cuss.
I got you. My goodness. Well, you mentioned conversation, and I think this is important, especially for our Black brothers and sisters. How can we properly spark that conversation with our white friends to have the discussion and bring them into the knowledge? How can we best do that?
Well, the first thing is to ask the person, do they desire to have a conversation? They may not want to have a conversation.
They just may like you, and that's all it is. They don't want to talk about your ills.
I don't want to be all that deep. Can we talk about power? Okay. Some people may not want to go there. And so you have to understand where people are. And because now, if you need to have the conversation, you should preface it with that. I really feel like because of what's going on in this climate and because of our relationship, I think we should have a talk. I need to share with how I'm feeling, and I really want to know how you're feeling. That's a dialogue. It's not your people did this to us. Because at the end of the day, the person you're talking to may be 3-4 generations away from slavery. They may have a parent who never taught them about being racist. So you just don't know. And then, many of us have biases, we have prejudice, we have stereotypes. We got all this working together. So most people really haven't learned a lot about what it means to understand diversity, to understand inclusion and what inclusion really means and what it doesn't mean. So I don't have to agree with what you do, but I still have to respect you as a person. So I remember when Obama passed the marriage thing of gay people being married, and I have friends who said, oh, I will never vote for him because he's changing the Bible. I said, well, first of all, his role as the president is not to be the president to just Christians. He's the president of the whole United States of America. And because that is his role, he has to look out for everybody's interest. And so if a person wants to marry a same-sex partner, that is their right and their business. I may not agree with it. Yep. I may not agree with it. I don't, that ain't what I'm down with. That ain't what I do. However, I can't be mean to you and treat you funky because that's what you believe. Because if we use that mentality, then Muslims wouldn't have rights in this country because they're not Christian.
Yeah. Whew. Well, Dr. Sabrina, I mean, we can go on and on. It's always so good to talk to you, but I got to get this one last one in. We are in COVID-19 pandemic, quarantine, racism, Black Lives Matter. It's so much going on. I think at the end of this, if not now, we all gonna need one big therapy session. But in the meantime, give us some practical tools that we can do as Black, whites, or whatever to properly facilitate this climate so that we don't end up bitter and broken.
I say I have a workshop that I created, and I like acronyms. I have an acronym for everything, but I talk about creating magic during times of uncertainty. And so when you think about magic and you think about the term magic, because magic is an acronym, but when we think about magic, we think about pulling a rabbit out of a hat. We think of the sleight of hand. We think of sorcery. We think about all that kind of stuff. But actually, another word for magic is power. And when you can tap into the places that you do have power, that creates magic. So the M is that you have to manage your stress. Stress can kill you. So you have to do things that de-stress. You have to understand what things that are you vulnerable to that makes you stressful so that you can control it and not let it control you. And know how stress shows up in your body and how to calm yourself down and things of that nature. The A is that you need to have an attitude of gratitude, because what I learned is if you're complaining, you can't be thankful. But if you're thankful, you can't complain. So I choose every day to be thankful. It keeps me feeling a little lighter. It keeps me feeling a little more in control when I think about the things that I have to be thankful for instead of everything that's going on around me. The fact that I woke up and can get up, oh baby, that's a good day. And I stopped saying that I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Do you know any side of the bed that I wake up on is the right side?
Sure enough.
There's no bad side to my bed. If I wake up and can get up, that's a good bed. I was just saying. The G is that you need to guard your peace at all costs. Guarding your peace means that you keep the negativity as much as possible out of your ear. So you have people that when they call you, they're talking negative. Stop talking to them. You have that you're watching, you scrolling through social media all day, all this negativity, shut it down. You can't watch CNN and the news all day. And I'm on the news, but I don't watch the news all day. You gotta take a break and do things to guard your peace. The I is that you have to identify things that bring you joy and do them on purpose. Because at the end of the day, we may feel guilty if all this mayhem is going on around us and we giggling and laughing. Well, the word tells me laughter is medicine for the soul. All our souls need some medicine. So we need to be laughing, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
C, you need to create your own personal circle of support. You need to have people that speak light, life, and love into you. People who are gonna just laugh with you. People who are going to, of course, people are calling. People who are gonna laugh with you. People are gonna giggle with you. People are gonna give you funny stuff to look at. They're gonna give you light moments. We need moments of levity. And I'll say this. Don't feel guilty when you are seeking out those spaces of joy, because all of that is healing. Because at the end of the day, when we heal, we help everyone affirm life. Because even though all this stuff is going on, there is still something good about being here.
Yes, absolutely. Give us to us one more time. Magic. The M.
Manage your stress. Have an attitude of gratitude. Guard your peace, identify things that bring you joy and do them on purpose. And the C is to create your personal circle of support.
Wow. I love it. Dr. Sabrina, you are awesome. Tell our viewers and listeners how they can connect and get your books and just connect with you.
My website is simply my name, sabrinajackson.com, all one word. Or if you want to get books, and I do have a workbook for magic that has some assessments and tests for each of the areas and some strategies and things for you to do. I have a website that you can just buy books, and it's drsabrinabooks.com. And then, of course, I'm on the gram as
Okay.
Dr. Sabrina Speaks on the gram. I'm on the gram.
Lovely. Dr. Sabrina, I love you so much. Thank you so much.
I love
for being
you.
here.
Thank you so much for having me. You are doing an incredible thing. You keep doing it. Oh my God, you are inspiring me to up my game. I like how you be dancing and doing. I love it. Keep doing it. We need that. We need that. So
Yes,
keep it going.
Yes. Thank you so much. Well, I'll be in touch. You stay safe. And hit me up if you need anything.
All
we'll
right.
be in touch.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.